Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving sovereign thinkers, L3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves, South Florida. And today's date is Wednesday, March 7th, 2018. Yes, it is early Wednesday morning. Spring breakers are out. They had a little cruise party in the downtown area. And I'm just along the New River, hanging out, the historical landmark of downtown Saloon. Been here for a very long time. A lot of history here. So I'm just mellowed out and do my thing, make things happen. Yes, I'm going to be discussing the so-called legitimate bill, they say, Senate Bill 7026, which it squeaked by. And like I said, they just compound everything in one batch, which is a total sham and a manipulative and a BS compromise. One of them is raising the age to 21. Yo, gee, that's going to make us feel safe. It's telling everyone else between 18 and 20 you're not capable of handling yourself when holding a firearm or rifle, etc. They assume you guys are a bunch of illiterate, moronic pieces of garbage, numbers in their eyes, and peasants. Yes, I can say that. Even to that peon, Senator Farmer Jr., want to do a lot more. As far as I'm concerned, based on his information I was reading, he's nothing more than a treasonous quack that makes Benedict Arnold a profound patriot. I wrote a powerful letter on there, a reference to some of his cheerleading and witch hunting games that is synonymous to Adolf Hitler accusing the Jews for the collapse of their German economy, plus right-wing fanatics blaming the Muslims for the 9/11 attacks. I wrote that in my letter to my opposition to some of the language pertaining to firearm rights, which is a natural right. And I never got a response. But if he does, hope he calls me, because I don't give a damn. I will let him know how I feel. And said this for sure. You're nothing more than a treasonous quack, based on his actions. So they're going to take it to the House, and they want to try to get this rushed in. But I believe, hopefully, the House will say no. But it'll be a nice little battle, even for those willing snowflakes out there, but don't have a damn clue on what happened in the life out there. Don't get me wrong, many of them experienced what occurred in that school. I'm not going to bash them for that. But many of them have this wet dream solution. They're going to be safe and have the government protect them. It doesn't work that way. Learn to study history. Read the book Death by Government by R.J. Rummel. It may change your mind. Instead of listening to a bunch of saps trying to tell you what to do and how to think, and you got parents out there believe the world should be like underdog with the sweet pie purebred syndrome. Plus, the explorers are really manifesting on this, and in the lamestream media. So I know I'm digressing, but I get a few things off my chest. It has nothing to do with me being a member of the National Rifle Association, which I'm not. But I support natural-born rights. Plain and simple. Let's just read here first from the Tallahassee Democrat. You know, it came out like the 5th, actually, so a little bit old, but it's interesting here. Senate approves school safety package 20-18. Bill heads to the House. Part of the USA Today network. Go figure. After the emotional and often bitter debate, the Florida Senate voted 20-18 Monday to approve school safety plan that allows some teachers and staff to carry guns in the classroom and increase the minimum age for gun purchases. The bill imposes a 3-day waiting period for any gun purchase, raised at the minimum legal age to buy all guns in Florida from 18 to 21. What a wet dream. The vote across party lines came after the 3-hour debate Monday and a marathon session on Saturday. Lawmakers weigh a $400 million package of security measures and mental health programs against a first-of-its-kind school marshal program opposed by some Democrats. So they want us to be sitting ducks and have our hands in the air and surrender, just like the Scott-Israel self-defense technique. While a handful of Second Amendment Republicans consider whether they could accept the new restrictions on gun purchases, in the end, some like Dennis Baxley and Greg Stubbe couldn't. Senators Bill Galvino, Republican from Brandon, led the Senate's effort to respond to the Valentine's Day mass shooting in Parkland that killed 14 and 3 staff members. He observed that bipartisan opposition to the proposal indicated hit his nerve and sent lawmakers out of their comfort zones. This bill would make a difference now. When it becomes law, things will start changing, says Galvino. It will be one of those areas where we can stand up and say to the families, to the communities, to our children, or to our children, to our children, that we listen. We are trying very hard. How about getting rid of gun-free zones, you stupid sons of bitches? Sorry about that. But Florida Democratic Party Chair Terry Rizzo was unimpressed. After Senate Bill 7026 passed the Senate Monday evening, Rizzo issued a statement saying this is not a legislation the Parkland students fought for. This does not go far enough to protect our students from gun violence. Well, we're going to stop letting them be sitting ducks then, Mr. Rizzo. The four-point plan would provide $98 million to make schools more physically secure, $8 million to establish a safe schools program, $69 million for mental health assistance, $25 million to replace the classroom building where the massacre occurred, $18.3 million for mobile crisis team, $500,000 for mental health first aid training, procedures to allow some teachers and staffers to carry guns in the classroom. A student survivor and their backers demanded a ban on assault weapons when they marched on the state capitol after the week of the shooting. Yeah, so you want to go in there and ban it, so when some tyrants take over, including people in our own government, you sit to go, why? How could we do this to us? Their allies in the legislation thought they knew that they would be a heavy lift. Florida has among the loosest gun regulations in the nation. And when the leaders responded that it was nearly $500 million for schools hardening and mental health programs, lawmakers were forced to wrestle with the proposals counting money exchange for guns in the classroom. There's some videos on here too. Senator Bill Manford, Democrat Tallahassee, along with Lauren Brooke, Democrat from Plantation, voted for the bill. A former superintendent, high school principal, and a classroom teacher, Mofford said he could not reject the money, even though he opposed it enacted to arm teachers. Yeah, so put your hands in the air. You should walk around like Oprah Winfrey fan club. Surrender for your own good. Dubbed the Aaron Fai's Guardian Program in the honor of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School assistant football coach who was killed in the shooting. If we walk away from $400 million, is teacher carrying guns a poison pill? Absolutely, said Montfort. I can't imagine that, but there are others in this who have embraced it. My position is to leave it up to them. This is never enough money for anything we do up here. School districts are always having to scrape to come with money. Senator Rene Garcia, a Republican from Miami, said the bill would be more transformative. He noted the common denominator in the 3 mass shootings that have occurred in Florida in the past 18 months was mental illness. Yes, and they're in firearm-free zones. Under Florida Statute 790.06, subsection 12A. I know I repeated it a few times, but for our first-time listeners, you got to check it out. We are taking people out of the shadows, said Garcia, about the programs that will diagnose and treat mental illness. What we are doing in mental health is something that we should have done 10, 20 years ago. Garcia sponsored an amendment to exempt individuals who exclusively perform classroom duties for the Marshall Program, instead support staff to those who some instructional work, and counselors, librarians, and custodians will be allowed to carry firearms in school. The amendment is viewed as a compromise with those opposed to arming teachers. Fort Lauderdale Senator Gary Farmer, Democrat from Fort Lauderdale, favored assault weapons ban, and that captured the mood for many opponents, including the opposed the 3-day waiting period that was a key part of the bill. There's the ugliest, seediest part of what goes on here, Farmer said about the legislative fight. Long-standing goals were in sight, but lawmakers said they would have to sacrifice fundamental values to grab them. We have 5 days left, Farmer told the Senate Democratic caucus before the floor session. Today is our day to be strong. In many ways, this is our last stand on these issues to try to convert them. Others, though, did not want to take the risk. There are just a few days left in the 2018 session, and work still needs to be completed on the state budget. There is no time to play ping pong back and forth between the two chambers to work things out, said Aubrey Jewett, a University of Central Florida political science professor. Procedurally, the legislation is out of time to get something done by Friday's scheduled adjournment of the 2018 season. With the time starting to run out to do anything, the action now moves to the House, where it supports the ban of assault weapons and for Second Amendment rights are stronger. The age thing is discriminatory to young adults, said Senator Baxley from Ocala, who voted against the bill. I am an iconic figure in the Second Amendment rights. The symbolism of me, of all people, take people's rights is just hard for me to get my head around. Baxley said there are still 4 days left in session. One never knows what can happen. We'll see, he said with a smile. The House is scheduled to take the bill up Tuesday or Wednesday. Capitol observers think this may be the best lawmakers can do, limit what they have on hand. I think the slaughter down affected, if not, well, not all of them emotionally, so they want to do something, said Jewett. Watching the proceedings from Orlando, but on the other hand, that runs into the wall. Many of them are personally pro-Second Amendment, and two, they also worry about offending the NRA. Thus, there is a limit what they are willing to consider. There, you can see the Senate vote on here, and tells you who voted for it against. And I'll be very frank, because so you got some people want to ban on semi-automatic weapons. So it makes it more powerful for the government over its people. Okay? I'm just wondering how many of these people in the legislative branch of Florida are funded by Big Pharma. Mental health issues. Pharmaceutical cartel. How many of them are owned by them? By that nefarious entity. That's one of the areas you got to look at too. That's why I was real critical of Farmer in the past. I still am today. Witch hunting for tyrants, cowards, wussies. Sorry about that. That's for Farmer. I ripped them just for you, sir. And, of course, take away their natural rights. You're just semi-juveniles for the ones with 18 and 20. So, remember, these idiots in there can't even tie their own shoelaces. They're going to try to tell you how to think. You have the right to carry. You as adults. Your natural born right. If you can go to jail, if you can serve if you're old enough to go to jail in adult courts, if you're old enough to serve your country, you're old enough to carry a rifle or a firearm and be responsible. It's their stupidity that gotten this to this mess. They haven't learned a damn thing for the other two shootings. That's right. They haven't learned a damn thing. They haven't learned the ability squad from Columbine. You got 4 custodial officers for BSO, stood down. Now you want to punish everybody else? The hell with you guys. Weak and pathetic. As for all you willing snowflakes out there, you just support the purveyors of violence, which is the state. Like I said, read Death by Government. Or check out the video called Innocence Betrayed that was established by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. I know I posted that a couple times on the archive.org, which is the Internet Library. But check it out. Yeah, you haven't learned anything. Shame on these guys. That's a bunch of saps, you know? Take a dump, I find it more attractive than these individuals out there trying to speak for me. Shoot, you don't own me, you never have, never will. Well, we're going to go over here from guns.com. Florida Senate narrowly passes controversial gun bill. And of course, it says here, with critics on both sides of the argument unhappy with the elements of the Rush legislation, broad gun control bill squeaked through the state Senate on Monday. Just 2 weeks old, SB 7026 managed to pass a Republican-controlled body. 2018, with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle crossing over. The bill would ban bump stocks, up school security, raise the age to all purchase all guns in the state to 21, extend the 3-day wait for long arms. Remember, Nicholas Cruz, there was a claim that he purchased a farm in Coral Springs, which has a 5-day waiting period under the Broward Ordinance 18-96, which is considered a local option on Article 7 of our state constitution. So it didn't do diddly squat. Now you're going to ban bump stocks? So who's going to benefit from that? Criminals, corrupt governments, and possibly the private prison industry. No victim, no crime. Let's make this a victimless crime law for ascertaining bump stocks. One amendment adopted at the last minute on Monday bars classroom teachers from participating in an armed school staff program. That is part of the bill. The move passed to the bill, the most successful and sweeping attempt at gun control in Florida's recent legislative history, was triggered by a shooting in Parkland on February 14th and is named in the honor of the tragic event. So, bars classroom teachers from participating in an armed school staff program. What a compromise. Yeah, it make us feel safe. What a wet dream. The opportunity to meet and listen to survivors of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shootings, as well as families of the victims, had a tremendous impact on each and every senator, has significant influence in the development of the support legislation. The bill sponsored State Senate Bill Galvano from Brandon. Among the sections of 7026 are provisions that make it a felon to possess a bump stock or similar device. So there you go. Victimless crime bill on bump stocks. So if I own some bump stocks, I could be a felon. Think about that. We're supposed to fight victimless crime bills, not enhance it. The raise to buy rifles and shotguns to 21 statewide and mandate the waiting period on most gun transfers. This bill includes some $400 million in its authorization, including $26 million for new buildings at a memorial for Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Some $200 million is set aside for grant programs to harden schools in the state, while $69 million will go to fund mental health services. Does this help us destroy Big Pharma? Go after them. Finally, another $67 million is included to fund what is being termed the Coach Aaron Feist Guardian Program, named after a faculty member killed at the school. The program with each school faculty in the state required to have at least one on-guard law enforcement officer. I'm sorry. Well, the 4 custodial deputies didn't even work out, right? Shoot. Or guardian on campus would train volunteer faculty in a program administered by local sheriffs. In its final form, the bill barred classroom teachers from the initiative with the exception for those who are GRTC instructors for law enforcement or military. There you go. So other teachers out there that are not in these areas, you guys suck. That's what they're saying to you. They're saying, you can't do this. That's how disgusting government is. I'm sorry. By and large, many involved in the discussion around SB 726 dislike at least a portion of the bill, with gun control advocates against Army and school personnel, while those stumping for gun rights are opposed to the concept of raising the threshold to purchase long arms, banning loosely defined bump stocks, and expanding the use of arbitrary waiting periods. Democrats failed to include a ban on assault weapons into the bill, but not for the lack of trying. The measure heads off to an uncertain future. The House sets to end the session on March 9th. Oh, let's see if they do this. And I'm going to add the cite on that bill, public safety. It actually is 105 pages long. So if folks want to read, I read a good amount of it. A lot of areas I am not impressed. So we'll just see how it happens. And I recommend everyone out there in the House, if you live in Florida, just make your stance. You know, the area should be scrapped off on the age limit and all that. So I'm going to add that in here. And to be very frank, this bill breaches Article 1, Sections 2, 8, and 9 of the Florida Constitution. So that area is null and void. And I will explain here. On Article 1, Section 2, Florida Constitution, all natural persons, female and male alike, are equal before the law and have inalienable rights, among which are the rights to enjoy to defend life, liberty, to pursue happiness, to be rewarded for the industry, and to require, possess, and protect property, except that the ownership, inheritance, disposition, and possession of real property by aliens ineligible for citizenship may be regulated or prohibited by law. No person shall be deprived of any right because of race, religion, national origin, or physical disability. So, right there, that's considered, that language considered unconstitutional. All right, so we can hit Section 8. A, the right to bear arms. Section 8, Article 1, Section 8A, right of people to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves and the lawful authority of the state shall not be infringed, except in the matter of bearing arms may be regulated by law. Don't really get it, So, of course, say B, there should be a mandatory 3-week waiting period, excluding weekends and legal holidays, between the purchase and delivery and at retail of any handgun. For the purpose of this section, a purchase means the transfer of money or valuable consideration to the retailer. Handgun means a firearm capable of being used by one hand, such as a pistol or revolver. Holders conceal the permits prescribed in Florida laws now shall be subject to provisions of this paragraph. So Section 818B. Okay, so right there, the 3-day waiting period of purchasing firearms is considered illegal under our state constitution, Article 1, Section 8. Okay, that's another reason why it's considered invalid. And of course, Section 9. No person shall be deprived of liberty or property without due process of law, or be twice in jeopardy for the same offense, or be compelled in any criminal matter to be witness against oneself. So what's interesting about that, because they in the bill talked about if they have to have hard evidence, they could take away your firearms and consider it a threat. Okay, without due process. So they're trying to do a little compromise here and there, and that's another reason why it's considered unconstitutional under the state law, because it does violate those areas. That's why the age, didn't say anything about age on here. However, anything else is considered illegal. So a 3-day waiting period on rifles is unconstitutional because it has to be voted by the people. All right? And all this got to be, so So the whole thing is, it does violate Article 1, Sections 2, 8, and 9 of the Florida Constitution. And I'm going to add that to the memo as well, so you folks can see things, a lot more than what it is. All right. All right. So one of those areas you got to really examine. Yeah, I'm just a little bit insulted, but it's what, who, what, and why has to say about this. Came out the 6th by Melvin Croner. What gun background checks can detect stupidity? It's a good thing I don't own a gun. I'm hopelessly absent-minded. If I did own one, I would probably set it down next to my hairdryer, or beside my TV remote, or on my night table, next to my alarm clock, which I often fumble with while half asleep. My cat also likes to fumble with objects on that table, knocking them to the floor one by one. And I stuff that gun into my big pouchy bag. I'll probably never see it again unless I carelessly toss out that bag on the floor somewhere because the gun go off. Yes, the good thing I don't own a gun. Huh. You know what? I'll let you guys read the rest of this. I find it's pretty cute. But, yeah, I may have you do that. What the hell? It's one of those things. Can't detect stupidity. Yeah, it's pretty cute. So, yeah, definitely I'm going to keep this on here. You can read this. So just, sometimes I just wing it and I forget what's what at times. So, I always gotta, have to see things a lot bigger than what it is. And you know what? Enough of this firearm stuff here. With all due respect, well, let's see what John W. Whitehead from the Rutherford Institute have to say here. Dictator for life: the rise of the American Imperial president. And there's a little quote here. The presidency will survive. The question is what leads American presidents into imperial temptation. The American presidency conceives itself as the appointed savior of the world, in which mortal danger requires rapid and instant deployment of men, weapons, and decisions. Behind a wall of secrecy, power rushes from Capitol Hill to the White House. Historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr. And continue on here. I am not a fan of Communist China. It's a vicious totalitarian regime that routinely employs censorship and sensitive surveillance to brutal police state tactics to intimidate its populace, maintains its power, and expand the large of its corporate elite. Just recently, in fact, China banned the word used disagree as well as references to George Orwell's novel Animal Farm in 1984. What is Orwellian, however, is China plans to use surveillance to create a citizen score that determines one place in society based on one's loyalty to the government. Yes. They want to have you become Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas. China, an economic and political powerhouse that owns more America's debt than any other country and is buying up American businesses across the spectrum, now has plans to make its president, Xi Jinping, president for life. President Trump thinks that's a great idea. Trump thinks the idea of having a president for life is great. In fact, that America might want to move in that direction. Maybe he'll have to give that a shot someday, said Trump to a room full of supporters. Probably joking, right? Here's the thing. We already have a president for life. Sure, the names and faces of parties have changed over the years, but really, when you drill down under the personalities and political theater, you'll find that changing names and faces are merely cosmetic. No matter who sits on the throne, in the office of the president of the United States, has, for all intents and purposes, become a unilateral unto itself. Although China Constitution invests the president is very specific. Limited powers in recent years. American presidents Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, etc., have claimed the power to completely and almost unilaterally alter the landscape of this country for good or for ill. The powers amassed by each successive president through the negligence of Congress and the courts, power which add up to a toolbox of terror for an imperial ruler, empowered whoever occupies the Oval Office to act as a dictator, above the law and beyond any real accountability. The presidency itself has become an imperial one with permanent powers. As a law professor, William P. Marshall explains, every extraordinary use of power by one president expands the ability of the executive branch power for use used by future presidents. Moreover, it doesn't matter whether other presidents have chosen not to take the advantage of any particular power, because it is the president's action in using power rather than forsaking its use that has a presidential significance. In other words, each successive president continues to add to his office's list of extraordinary orders and directives, expanding the reach and power of the presidency and granting him or herself more dictatorial powers. So you see, we have been saddled with a president for life, i.e., a dictator for life, for some time now. This abuse of presidential powers has been going on for so long that it has become the norm. The Constitution be damned. The government of laws idolized by John Adams has fallen prey to a government of men. As a result, idealized. I said idolize, but idealize. Sorry about that. As a result, we have no longer have a system of checks and balances. The system of checks and balances that the framers envisioned now lacks effective checks and no longer in balance. Concludes Marshall. The implication of this series, the framers designed a system of separation of powers to combat government access and abuse and to curb incompetence. They also believe that in the absence of an effective separation of power structure, such ills would inevitably follow. Unfortunately, however, power once taken is not easily surrendered. All the imperial powers amassed by Barack Obama and George W. Bush to kill Americans without due process, to detain suspects indefinitely, to strip Americans of their citizenship rights, to carry out mass surveillance on Americans without probable cause, to suspend laws during wartime, to disregard laws with which he might disagree, to conduct secret wars and convene secret courts to sanction torture, to sidestep the legislators and the courts with executive orders and signing statements, to direct the military to operate beyond reach of the law, to operate a shadow government, to act as a dictator and a tyrant, above the law and beyond any real accountability, were inherited by Donald Trump. These powers acquired through the use of executive orders, decrees, memorandums, proclamations, national security directives, and legislative signing statements, in which can be activated by any sitting president, enabled past president and future presidents to operate above the law and beyond the reach of the Constitution. These are the powers that will be passed along to each successive heir to Oval Office. After all, presidents don't give up power, and executive orders don't expire at the end of each presidential term. This is what you might call a stealthy, creepy, silent, slow motion coup d'etat. We've been losing our freedoms so incrementally for so long, so to us, us in the name of national security and global peace, maintained by way of martial law disguised as law and order and enforced by a standing army or militarized police, and a political elite determined to maintain their powers at all costs. That is hard to pinpoint exactly when it all started going downhill, but we're certainly that a download trajectory now. Then things are moving fast. A handful of us have been warning for years about this growing danger posed by the executive branch with its presidential toolbox of terror that could be used and abused by future presidents. The groundwork, we warned, was being laid for a new kind of government where it won't matter if you're innocent or guilty, whether you're a threat to the nation or even if you're a citizen. What will matter is what the president or whoever happened to be occupying the Oval Office at the time thinks. And if he or she thinks you're a threat to the nation and should be locked up, then you'd be locked up with no access to the protections of our Constitution provides. In effect, you will disappear. Our warnings went largely unheeded. First, we sounded the alarm for George W. Bush's attempts to gut the Constitution, suspend habeas corpus, carry out warrantless surveillance on Americans, and generally undermine the Fourth Amendment, but the Republicans didn't want to listen because Bush was a Republican. Then we sounded the alarm over Barack Obama's prosecution of whistleblowers, targeted drone killings, assassination of American citizens, mass surveillance, and militarization of the police. But the Democrats didn't want to listen because Obama was a Democrat and he talked a really good game. Exactly. These are the lords and saviors. Donald Trump has already picked up where his predecessors left off. He has continued to wage war and he has continued to federalize the police, and he operates as if the Constitution does not apply to him. From Clinton to Bush, then Obama, and now Trump, we've been caught in a time loop, forced to relive the same abuses over and over again. The same assaults on our freedoms and the same disregard for the rule of law, the same subservience to the deep state, and the same corrupt, self-serving government that exists only to amass power and enrich its shareholders to ensure it continues domination. As tempting as it might be to lay all the blame at Trump's feet for the totalitarian state of the nation right now, remember that he didn't create the police state. He merely inherited it along with the dictatorial powers of the presidency. So if you're looking for someone to blame when the nation eventually locks down, if you're looking for someone to blame when Americans are rounded up and detained based on the color of their skin, their religious beliefs, or political views, if you're looking for someone to blame when law and order presidents over constitutional principles, if you're looking for someone to blame when martial law is eventually declared, if you're looking for someone to blame, there is nowhere to run and nowhere to hide from the surveillance state, prying eyes and ears. And if you're looking for someone to blame when our constitutional republic finally plunges headlong over the cliff and leaves us in the iron grip of totalitarianism, blame the Imperial president or our so-called president for life. Blame the Republicans and Democrats who justified every power grab, every expansion of presidential powers, and every attack on the Constitution as it was a member of their own party leading the charge. Blame Congress for being weak in that body that spends more time running for office and pardoning to the interest of the more elite than representing citizenry. Blame the courts for caring more about order than justice, and for failing to hold government officials, especially the president, accountable for the rule of law. Blame corporate America for taking control of the government and calling the shots behind the scenes. Most of all, blame the American people for putting up with the travesty for so long and continue to blindly pull the levers for the president of choice instead of vehemently protesting the excesses and abuses of the White House. So where does that leave us? We better stop hanging our hopes on a political savior to rescue us from the clutches of an imperial president. It's possible that the next president might be better, but then again, he or she could be far worse. Remember, the presidential elections merely serve to maintain the status quo. Once elected president, that person becomes part of the dictatorial continuum that is the American imperial presidency today. Unfortunately, the process of unseating a dictator and limiting the powers of the presidency is far from simple, but at a minimum, it must start with the people. If we are to return to a constitutional presidency, we must recollaborate the balance of power. The first step is to start locally in your own communities, in your own schools, at your own city council meetings, and the newspaper editors at protests by pushing back against laws that are unjust, police departments that overreach, the politicians that don't listen to their constituents, and a system of government that grows more tyrannical by the day. And I make it clear in my book, Battlefield America, The War on the American People, the only thing that will save us now is a concerted collective commitment to the Constitution principles of limited government, a system of checks and balances, and recognition that they, the president, the Congress, the court, the military, the police, the technocrats, and plutocrats, and bureaucrats, answer to and are accountable to we the people. So it's interesting there. This means that Americans will have to stop letting their political, personal politics, and party allegiance blind them to government misconduct and power grabs. It will mean holding all three branches of government accountable to the Constitution, i.e., vote them out of office if they abuse their powers. And that will mean calling on Congress to put an end to the use of presidential executive orders, decrees, memorandums, proclamations, national security directives, and legislative signing statements, as it means that getting around Congress and the courts. Thus far, Congress is a little spine, less integrity, and too busy running their own re-election campaign, has offered little attempt at oversight, enabling the president to ride roughshod over the Constitution. The media, the perfect accomplice in a stealthy, bloodless coup, continues to inundate us with the latest celebrity scandal while saying virtually nothing about these burgeoning powers. All the while Americans continue to cling to their outdated partisan allegiance among themselves to be manipulated by a two-party system whose only power is propping up an American imperial president. Yet the historian Arthur Sessions Jr. points out holding presidents to strict accountability requires, first of all, a new attitude on the part of the American people toward the presidents, rather a return to the more skeptical attitude of earlier times. It requires specifically a decline of reference in the age of imperial presidency has produced the idea that all of the run-of-the-mill politicians brought by fortuity to the White House, but must be treated thereafter as they become superior and perhaps godlike beings. Such as are continued, I would argue that what the country needs today is a little serious disrespect for the office of the presidency, a refusal to give any more weight to a president's words than the intelligence of the utterance, if spoken by anyone else, will command. If a nation wants to work its way back to a constitutional presidency, there's only one way to begin. That is by showing the presidents when their closest associates place themselves above the law and the Constitution. Such transgressions will not be forgiven or forgotten for the sake of the presidency, but exposed and punished for the sake of the presidency. In other words, we gotta stop treating the president like a god and start making both office of the president and the occupant play the rules by the Constitution. Absolutely. That's the name of the game, my friend. There are servants, not our lords and saviors. That's why I always question all these areas when you have folks out there just going to these campaign rallies and all that and just looking for their king or queen. Something to really look at. And I have to agree completely. But, yeah, they need us more we need them, friends. That's how I look at it. And you know what? Getting ready to fall asleep. That's really it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you said something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. And you can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Minds.com, Gab.ai, and I guess, sorry about that. I'm just like getting ready. I'm just getting ready to fall asleep here. FutureNet.club, patreon.com/Loki Luck 3 with 3 eyes. I said Gab already. Check it out. They're not like Twitter. Alright? More free speech. In addition, you can email me at lookluck3@gmail.com or to encrypted ones. We've got Proton Mail account. Look your luck number 03@protonmail.com. Alright, my friends, that's all for now. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.